Hi everyone. Let me cover pages 466 to 490. Your photograph is this one. I will explain it when we get there in the text. We get to the text. Now we're already in the 80s. Anatol's in prison. We have another chapter from Leah. Again, um, I really, really don't completely understand why they don't live in the US. It's like, yes, I get their principles, but it could be so much, um, quality of life. So, yes, they have do they have three sons at this point? Pascal, Patrice, and Martin Lothair. Yes. Pascal named after her friend Pascal in Kilanga, Patrice after Patrice Lumumba, and Martin Luther named after Martin Luther King. Then this fantastic Rachel chapter, 1984. There's reunion with her sisters. And according to Rachel, it's a total failure. It's just a great chapter. It's so funny. This there's a car that Mother and Ada are trying to send to Leah, and Ada sails across the Atlantic with it and drives it. Um, and they're going to have a farm, and then Rachel notes on page 476 that, Mother's group has never raised one red cent for me to help put in upstairs plumbing at the Equatorial, for example. But who's complaining? Which is, comparing the way Rachel lives to the way Leah lives. You wonder maybe why. Um, don't need to really raise money for Rachel. Um, this text, she talks about on page 476, and she says, I only went because a friend of mine had recently died of his long illness. Um, I think that's a reference to AIDS. It works out for the timing in 1984. Um, but Rachel doesn't mention it because Rachel wouldn't mention that it was AIDS. She talks about the plan of Ada, sailing to Spain and then driving. Um, and then on page 477, it's kind of subtle. It took me a while to see this, where Leah was like a house, as when they're returning, it's just Rachel and Leah um, in the new car. Um, and Rachel says that she made a long distance call from Libreville to make sure he was getting let out the next day for sure. And boy, did she make a beeline after that. She couldn't even bother herself to come up and see the Equatorial, even though we were only half a day's drive away. And me, a bereaved widow, practically. I can't forgive that in my own sister. And just when you almost feel sorry for Rachel, says she said she would only go if we went on down to Brazzaville first and then brought Anatole with us. Well, I just couldn't say yes or no to that right away. I had to think. It is simply a far more delicate matter than she understands. We have a strict policy about who is allowed upstairs, and if you change it for one person, then where does it end? I might have made an exception, but when I told her I had to think about it, Leah right away said, "Oh no, don't bother. You have your standards of white supremacy to uphold, don't you?" and then climbed up on her high horse. So basically, Rachel wouldn't have let her brother-in-law, not that she ever refers to Anatole as her brother-in-law, but he is, um, stay in her hotel because he's black. And also has the nerve to feel like she's the offended one. Um, and the place that they toured is called Abome. This is a picture I found online just of a little collage of different things there are to see there. I couldn't find very much. And Rachel describes how Ada and Leah attempt to broaden her perspective and fail. And then, and of course, Rachel even puts her foot in her mouth on the bottom of 479, the where she sounds exactly like their father. Not that Rachel would be glad to have that comparison made. And she says, well, I just blew up at that. These people here can't decide anything for themselves. I swear my kitchen help still can't remember to use the omelet pan for an omelet. For God's sake, Leah, you should know as well as I do how they are. To which Leah responds, yes, Rachel, I believe I married one of them. Um, there's another part where Rachel can't allow for her nephews to, she says, I don't see them being any kin of mine. Of course, they're her nephews. So it's pretty awful. And then they talk about, Leah talks about the update she got about their father being dead. And how little Rachel remembers of their time in Kilanga. And how little Rachel understands about the way that Leah and Ada can communicate with each other. And then finally, there's this report about Nathan, and he had 5 wives, and he burned to death until Ada realizes that the 5 wives were them. Sorry, Orleana and the 4 daughters. And Leah said, I'm sure he believed right up to the end that he was doing the right thing. He never did give up the ship. It's like, well, yeah, we know that. That's on page 488. And Rachel just has no patience for Ada and Leah. And Ada brings it back to Tata Jesus's Bangala, referring to Nathan's mispronunciation of Bangala and saying it the way, saying it as Poisonwood. I don't know. It's a really eventful chapter. It's a really kind of satisfying closure to have the 3 sisters together. And we're almost done with book 5, and I'll do questions, and then we are actually almost done with the novel, believe it or not. Hope everyone takes care. You please do something festive tomorrow. I don't know, for Fiesta, in honor of Fiesta. I still have a carton of cascarones. Maybe I'll throw them at my family inside. No, I won't, because that'll make a mess. It was nice to talk to you guys on Zoom. Those of you who came in, if you didn't, I'm here for you if you would like. Take care, everyone. Bye.